Hello dear viewers, today's lesson is on Hindu legal theory. A study of Hindu legal theory may not be completely out of place. It deserves attention and study by all students of legal theory in general and of Indian students in particular. Some of its legal conceptions have a striking identity with that of many modern theories. It is the most ancient legal theory of the world. The legal system shaped by it has governed the people of the subcontinent for a long time. Hindu legal thinkers expounded and developed their own indigenous system of law and jurisprudence, which was based on sound principles of reasoning and human welfare, and excelled in many respects in comparison with other legal systems of the world. Its genius and excellence has been admired by authors of recognized authority. Such being the importance of ancient Hindu legal theory, its study and analysis is perhaps necessary for a proper understanding of the Indian legal system and its jurisprudential background. Early lawgivers. India is a country with a great historical past, rich in its cultural, intellectual, spiritual, political and legal heritage. It is in India where for the first time an idealistic and pragmatic legal theory evolved based on certain values, spiritual as well as material. Hindu life was always been motivated by dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Within the ring of dharma, the life wheel of ancient Hindus moved for the attainment of prosperity, that is artha, and for gratification of senses and desires, that is kama, with a view to attain spiritual liberation or salvation, that is moksha. Hindu jurisprudence is as old as humanity itself. The ancient Indian legal philosophers were universalistic, humanists, rationalists, and above all, materialists of the supreme order, who evolved a system of legal theory which was based on their conception of dharma. Thus, ancient Indians evolved codes of laws based on higher values and ideals, which governed in an integrative manner all civil, religious and other actions of men in society, be it king or his subject. Many scholars, both foreigners and Indians, are ignorant of the fact that India in the past nurtured a highly ordered and evolved legal theory as expounded by its great lawgivers, the holy sages. There are a number of great lawgivers in Hindu jurisprudence, like Vedavyas, Vasishtha, Bhrigu, Brihaspati, Angira, Narada, Parasara, Katyayana, Daksha, Gautama, Samvardha, Apastamba, Sukra, Sankara, Ajnavalkya, Manu, Kautilya, etc. Shrutis and Smritis. Shrutis and Smritis form the greatest treasure house of Hinduism, which are considered immemorial, timeless and eternal. Vedas belong to the class Shruti, are the original and primary sources of Hindu system of law and are of divine origin. There is not much in them what may be called positive law. The nature of law in the Vedic age was of theological character, which was described as Rita, for universal order and harmony. This corresponds to natural law of the Western world, which still the basis of their contemporary legal theory. The Vedic period was succeeded by the period of Dharma Shastras. This period witnesses the crystallization and concretization of customary traditional law into the framework of Smritis, what is retold, remembered and written. The era of Dharmashastras is described as the golden age of Hindu legal theory, wherein there was a blending of religion and morality with law. They deal with the religious and moral law, the duties of the people and kings, as well as civil and criminal law. The observation in the Code of Manu that Shrutis, Smrutis, customs, and sayings of virtuous men and one's own conscience are the four sources of the sacred law is sufficient to show that Dharmashastras were the intermixtures of law, religion, and morality. In fact, moral and religious obligations were regarded by the exponents of Dharmashastras as of greater importance than mere legal obligations. However, in the Smrutis, one can also see the emergence of the concept of law as distinct and separate entity from ethics and morality. Some of the Smriti writers provide a coherent and logical treatment of law in a positive way, distinguishable from other non-legal values. Likewise, the commentators of different Smritis were guided by certain normative legal rules in forming their opinion about law. For example, a principle of law established in one instance should be extended to other cases also, provided there is no impediment. Between rules, general and special, the special is to prevail. If there be a contradiction between a Shruti and a Smruti, the former is to be followed. But if there be no such contradiction, the Smruti should be acted upon. If the two texts differ, reason must in practice prevail. Further, the Smriti writers have demarcated the respective spheres of law and non-legal rules with remarkable clarity in three sections, namely Achara, Vyavahara, and Prayaschitta. Achara are regulations relating to the performance of religious rites and ceremonies and general duties of men. Vyavahara are civil laws relating to the protection of life and property with all their rules and practices. And Prayaschitta are those relating to the atonement for various sins committed. But all these groups of laws, religious, civil, and about atonement, pass by one comprehensive term which is popularly known as Dharmashastra. Concept of Dharma. In Hindu legal literature, the equivalent word for law is Dharma. The literal meaning of Dharma is that which sustains or upholds. However, the term has a wider meaning. Dharma includes law, but its ambit is very wide. It is an elusive term which has no exact equivalent in any other language. It has, however, been frequently used in the ancient Hindu religious texts to connote different meanings according to the context. Therefore, some writers, in their attempt to give a precise, acceptable definition, have stated that Dharma includes religious, moral, social, and legal duties and can only be defined by its contents. According to Hindu scriptures, Dharma stands for religious rites, fixed principles of rules of conduct, and the whole body of religious duties. In ancient Indian legal system, Dharma and law were synonymous terms because the latter essentially constituted a part of the former. According to Gemini, Dharma is founded on revelation which is conducive to the welfare of the society. According to Manu, conduct is the basis of Dharma, and it is not what you think, but what you do constitutes your Dharma. In ordinary sense, Dharma is taken to be synonymous with religion, though in fact it has a much wider import. Religion and law are only two facets of dharma. Thus, the term dharma also embodies the present notion of law. In the widest sense, dharma suggests all pervading rules or order that uphold the universe. This inexorable and unalterable order makes the universe what it is. Thus, dharma is much broader than the law and is used in various other senses such as conduct, right, duty, and functions of the legal order. The fundamental principle underlying dharma is uniformity or regularity of order, which is universally accepted. It may therefore include statutory law, law of nature, law of society, law of creation, law of gravitation, etc. The word dharma has been given a variety of meanings in Vedic literature and Dharmasastras. Dr. P.V. Kane, after describing the various meanings in which it is used in Vedic literature, concludes that the concept of dharma passed through several transitions over the years, and in the modern context, it signifies privileges, duties, and obligations of a man, his standard of conduct as a member of the society. Thus, the word dharma connotes right conduct, observance of which was considered necessary for the welfare of individual and the society. Theory about origin of law. According to Hindu legal theory, origin of law is divine. In other words, it is revelation. However, it is to be noted that it is not the divine will, but the divine reason that is the source of law. The Hindu jurists conceived of law as derived from positive revelation of the deity, the revelation itself being the outcome of divine reason. The divine reason is not arbitrary. Justice is identical with divine reason, with the divine nature and essence, which being eternal and immutable, excludes all ideas of arbitrariness. Law is discoverable by reason because the will of God and human reason coincide. Several sources of law are laid down on the basis of this principle. Smriti writers laid down four sources of law: Shrutis, Smritis, Sadachara, and self-satisfaction. Smritis are believed to contain the revelations as recollected by the rishis. Gemini says, the Smritis having been compiled by sages who were also repositories of the revelation, there arises an inference that they are founded on the Shruti. Smriti writers were persons learned in Vedas and were thus capable of evolving the law in accordance with the reason of the Vedas. The same idea underlies the recognition of Sadachara or conduct of virtuous men as a source of law. Sadachara is to be based on forgotten texts, but it can be assumed that it is again to be based on the reason of Vedas. Self-satisfaction means only the choice between alternative courses of action according to one's conscience. Self-satisfaction is the guiding principle among optional alternatives. Importance of custom. The commentators of Smritis made it clear that on matters not covered by Smritis, customs would supplement the law. Thus, customs formed a part of the law. It was on the basis of the importance attached to customs by the Hindu legal thinkers, the Privy Council, in its decision in the case of Collector of Madura versus Muthu Ramalinga, observed, under the Hindu system of law, clear proof of usage will outweigh the written text of the law. Reconciliation between stability and change. It is to be observed that a legal order is necessarily both stable and flexible. It has, therefore, always been a problem of legal thinkers and lawmakers to work out a reconciliation between stability and change. On the one hand, the legal order should appear fixed and stable, and on the other hand, it should be capable of adaptation to the exigencies of changing human needs. The success of a lawmaker lies in working out this reconciliation. The Hindu lawgivers have made excellent performance in this regard. By ascribing the origin of law to God and recognizing sources capable of introducing innovations in it without any avowed transgression of theory, worked out a lasting reconciliation between stability and change. This boldly underlines the inherent dynamism of Hindu legal system. It resulted in imparting remarkable adaptability and elasticity to Hindu law, which ensured its survival for such a long time. Thus, the sources ingeniously forged by Hindu Dharmasastras imparted dynamism to Hindu law. They ensured the growth and evolution of law in accordance with the changing needs of time. Vedic conception of law. According to Vedas, law has a divine origin. Rig Veda conceives law not merely as an ordering of human conduct and adjustment of human relations, but it is something more, that is, ordering of things in a fixed and predetermined manner. Manu's view. Manu says that law is an order of human behavior which is just and reasonable as it emanates from the God. It consists of innate duties of men because they are ordained by nature and not external impositions from outside elements such as the state or sovereign. Law as Rita. Ideas and thinking about law is traceable since very early Vedic times. Even in the early Vedic period, there were some philosophical ideas of law. There are attempts to determine the nature of law and find out what law is. They conceived of law as Rita, which means truth. Rita, the cosmic or eternal law, is all pervading, omnipotent, inexorable, from which creation sprang and by which its life was regulated and upheld. It is the organized principle of the universe, as also the divine ordering of earthly life. It operates in the material as well as moral and spiritual field. The Vedic thinkers scarcely ever consider man as a whole in himself, and whenever they speak of human society, they do not forget its relation to the whole universe. Law as a measure of security. As early as Upanishadic period, there is a conscious thinking about the end of law. It is conceived of as existing to satisfy a paramount social need of general security. They seem to think of ensuring the general security mediately through the security of existing social institutions. This meant the preservation of social status quo. Thus, Hindu legal philosophers came to conceive of general security in terms of social status quo. The general security could only be maintained through securing the existing social institutions, and consequently, law is but a device to set man in his proper predetermined pace, thus avoiding friction with others. Thus, law is a device to keep everyone within his limits in his relations with other members of the society. The end and purpose of law. The contention about the end and purpose of law finds support in Upanishadic literature, in which it is stated, law is a chatra of chatras. Therefore, there is nothing higher than law. Thenceforth, even a weak man rules a stronger with the help of the law, as with the help of the king. This law is what is called the true. If a man declares what is true, they say he declares the law. And if he declares the law, they say he declares what is true. The both are the same. Duty as the essence of law. An important difference between Indian and Western jurisprudence is their respective attitudes to rights and duties. They were correlated in both systems, but the emphasis is different. In Indian jurisprudence, the emphasis is on duties. In fact, the word right does not occur even once in the whole of the Ardhashastra. Greater stress was laid down on duty rather than right in the administration of justice. The main purpose was to ensure peace and order in the society. The conduct according to Dharma meant performance of duty towards others and the society in the interest of the community as a whole. Significantly, even the modern Western legal thinkers like Agastya Comte and Duggie accepted duty as essential element of law by observing that the only right which any man can possess is the right always to do his duty. Religion, morality, and law distinguished. The modern law and legal philosophy does not touch the morality or the religion, but the dharma of the ancient Indian legal system comprised all the three, namely law, morality, and religion within its ambit. The concept of dharma in ancient legal theory was based on the presupposition that man has outer and inner existence. His outer existence was governed and controlled by legal rules and morals, while the inner self was regulated by the religious precepts. In this way, dharma, which included totality of rules governing the social order, contained within it the rules of religion, law, and morality. Thus, the law of Dharmasastras closely resembled the natural law philosophy. Law and equality. The principles of equality were well enshrined in the ancient law of India. But the concept of equality envisaged in Smritis did not mean mathematical equality. Instead, it referred to equality in the matter of protection and security to every person. The functioning of society was modeled on the principle of division of labor, and each person constituted an inseparable part of the society. Thus emerged Varna system, which consisted of 4 categories. The Varna Vyavastha was not meant to divide the society into different classes, but it was devised on the sound economic principle of division of labor for the well-being of the society as a whole. It shows the concern of the ancient lawgivers for social solidarity. Law and state. According to Upanishads, the state originated in heaven as a result of contract. Its object is to promote security and self-sufficiency of all its members and to ensure the satisfaction of the needs and supply of conveniences of life. The law was created for this purpose. One great function of the state is to enforce the observance of law. Thus, law is superior and anterior to state. According to the ancient Hindu view, law was not an emanation from or as attribute of the state, but was above it and anterior to it. According to Hindu legal theory, the administration of justice was considered to be one of the essential functions of the state. Rule of law and separation of powers. In the West, such concepts and theories were devised only after prolonged struggles and wars between people and their despotic monarchs in England and France during 17th and 18th centuries. Thus, quintessence of the concept of rule of law, according to Dicey, consists in the absence of arbitrary power on the part of the government. It means the acceptance of the supremacy of law, which binds all rulers and the ruled, and which no one can escape. The ancient rulers observed the doctrine of rule of law, that is dharma, both in letter and spirit. The king, the state, the government, and the people are all subordinated to law of dharma. The king was never above the law, but under law. The government of ancient Hindus was, therefore, a government of laws and not of man. The doctrine of separation of powers appears to be prevalent in the sense king or executive authority had no power to make new laws or to alter old ones. The king was invested with powers to inflict punishment not capriciously but constitutionally on those who violated the law. Whatever minimum rule-making powers the king enjoyed in the form of bylaws, executive orders, or regulations were supposed to be in accordance with the sacred law of Dharma. It is to be noted that Dharmasastras were not only religious but legal in content, making it absolutely clear that law is king of kings and that no one is above law, even the king. Rules for interpretation of text of the law. In ancient India, principles for interpretation of laws were developed to high degree of perfection. Judges were required to decide cases, criminal and civil, according to law. This involved interpretation of the written text of the law. This task created many problems, such as the elucidation of obscure words and phrases in the text, reconciliation of conflicting provisions in the same law, solution of conflict between the letter of the law and principles of equity, justice and good conscience, adjustments between customs and smritis, so on. This branch of law was highly developed and a number of principles were enunciated for the guidance of courts. From what has been discussed now, it would be evident that the Hindu legal theory, as conceived by the scriptures and Dharmasastras, was a unique combination of religion, law, and morality. However, with the passage of time and changes in the socio-political conditions of India, and due to the influence of foreign rule, the ancient Hindu law and legal thought was modified, supplemented, and finally superseded by Western law and legal thought. However, there is a common feature enshrined both in Western and ancient Indian jurisprudence, that is, the existence of democratic nature of society with a secular law wherein the supremacy of law is maintained over all, be it the sovereign or the people. In this lesson, an overview of the ancient Hindu legal philosophy has been presented to enable the students to understand its importance. Thank you.